Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Julian. I am CEO of Unifi Protocol. I'm here today talking with Dave Uhryniak. He's the Director of Blockchain Strategy at Tron DAO. And we're going to be spending some time today just talking a little bit about DAOs, about where Tron is at in relation to that, kind of the future of what they're looking at and working on, and kind of how our kind of two paths have been intersecting here for the last 4 years. So welcome, Dave.
Hey, Julian. Nice to meet you, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, super excited to spend some time and talk. You know, we've kind of been crossing paths here since early 2018. We kind of got our start for the most part on Tron, operating as a decentralized community focused on governance and things like that. Finally becoming a more formalized DAO, I would say, in 2020. But I feel like this is kind of a big change for Tron. You guys are kind of coming in. You're looking at some of the issues that the blockchain space is facing, and spending some, I mean, a lot more time focused on the DAO aspect of that. So I guess kind of a good thing to kick us off here with is, you know, what does it mean to be a DAO to Tron, and what are you guys thinking in that arena?
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's, for me personally, it's very exciting to be part of a company that is, or an organization that is a DAO. I mean, we're operating on the very front edge of the next, or potentially what will be the future form of businesses in the world. And I think that's very exciting, and it's exciting to learn everything that goes along with that, right? So in adapting to that new structure, you know, we just became a DAO. I guess the process started back in June, and then it finally became official at the start of the new year. So we're just kind of still emerging into that framework, getting everything in the right place. But really, you know, from a number of perspectives, you know, we're still getting everything organized, getting it set up, and you know, we really have a good, strong presence in quite a few geographies. So
cool. Yeah, I think, you know, when I take a look back at kind of some of the history of Tron, you know, when you guys first launched super representatives and things like that, it was one of the first blockchains that I was aware of where you could actually vote on network proposals that had a direct impact on how the chain would functionally operate. You could change the, you know, as an SR, you could propose to change the everything from transaction costs to all kinds of different parameters and utilities that could be called within a smart contract. I think the upgrade, the actual EVM, no, the Tron virtual machine upgrade was done using it. This is from memory, or from a proposal in the late summer of 2018, which is pretty cool to see. You guys had your roots operating to some extent as a DAO back then.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I'm not familiar with that time period. You know, I don't know if you, or if I mentioned this. I joined the company in January, or the organization in January. So prior to that, you know, I'm a little unfamiliar with, but I'll take your word for it.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. So, okay, that's great. I just feel like, you know, Tron is kind of a foot in the game, has some very clear experience there. And I think that's a great way to start out as a DAO. This isn't something you guys are coming into new with. So I guess, why is that such an important part of, from your perspective? Well, why is that so important to the future of Tron to be a DAO?
Yeah, well, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit when you were talking about the super representatives. You know, as as you might know, there are 27 super representatives that kind of form the policy of Tron, and there isn't necessarily one person making all the decisions. And I think, and now connect that to really what we want to do. The goal of Tron or our mission is to decentralize the web. That's what we say. That's on the website. That's really what we're working to do. And a DAO is really kind of the ultimate form potentially of decentralization. And so we're really taking what it is we want to do, taking our mission to kind of the extreme and operating the group in that same decentralized manner.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I think it's clear that that's where the industry is going, and I also think it's pretty clear that that's where people want it to go. We've seen.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, we've seen like so many iterations of this space. We saw staking at the forefront of everything that's happening here. We saw DeFi come into its own. We've seen NFTs do its thing. And I think DAOs have largely become a very key part of the conversation.
They are. I think there are still probably multiple issues, to say the least, and that's probably an understatement, that need to be worked out with DAOs. And most of them really not so much on the operating side, but on just the organizational side and the way they deal with regulations and different country policies and all those types of things. I think once again, we're in a position where, the crypto world, this emerging Web3 world, is moving much more rapidly than regulation can even try to keep up. So it might take a while for regulation to figure out where this is going and, kind of be able to, and hopefully there isn't much of a framework, but be able to properly recognize these new kind of organizational forms. We did see in last year, I believe Wyoming is recognizing DAOs, giving DAOs the same kind of legal rights, so to speak, as LLCs, but I'm not even sure that's something DAOs are necessarily interested in.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, which is DAO has become this catch-all term. And you guys, you're operating a blockchain as a DAO, and that's very different than a lot of the other DAOs that we see out there today. Like you take a look at like Spice DAO, that's buying the Doom Bible for $3 million.
Oh, right,
and doing things like
Constitution DAO that tried to buy the Constitution or a copy of the Constitution,
or buy golf courses or property or things like that. Right. And I think that those are tough because how does a DAO, if a DAO isn't a person, it's not a legal entity, how does it own property? And I feel like that's challenging because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're voting that the DAO basically just gives money to a person or an entity to execute some expected result. But what you guys are doing is quite a bit different because you're saying that you're going to operate the blockchain itself as a DAO. I think what's so interesting about that is it doesn't rely on like an off-chain construct. It doesn't rely so much on that off-chain construct. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think so. And it's, like I said, we're really kind of taking our mission and putting it into the business, and that's to decentralize everything to some extent. So it's pleasing to see, and I'm excited to be part of an organization that is really at the tip of the spear in kind of innovating those new business models. And I think you're right. We are seeing DAOs pop up in all forms, and I think it's funny. I was talking to a group based in Europe that is kind of forming a venture fund that is DAO, and assets will be allocated through voting. right? So they'll vote on projects, allocated assets that way, and it's really fairly innovative. There's a lot of things that might, a lot of implications, I think, that still need to be thought through. But I don't think we've reached kind of the upper boundary of what's possible for a DAO. I think there's a long way to go for that to happen. And I think it's going to be very exciting to watch. I do like the comparison of DAOs to old cooperatives. I think that's interesting. It's kind of it's taken that cooperative model and really almost adapted it to kind of a Web3 environment, so to speak. So that's pretty cool to think about it in those terms.
That is super neat. So I mean, tons of reasons to go to a DAO. Why do you think that switching to more of a DAO-centric style of governance on Tron is going to help make you guys more successful? Like, how does that contribute to the overall success of Tron itself?
Yeah, good question. I think I think it goes back to really just putting really being taking what we believe and what we want to do and really living it. I think that's really important. And really what we're seeing in Tron is we're really when you talk about in terms of what's going to make us a success, and I think that already the organization has proven to be very successful. But what we're doing now is really we have hiring going on at all levels of the organization. So everywhere from interns to senior leadership. We're bringing on new people. We're growing the organization, and at the same time, we're actually becoming a bit more inwardly focused as we take this broad ecosystem that we've developed over the last few years and really streamline it and really focus it on some of the key areas that we want to be in, that we want to grow. And I think that's really what's going to drive the success of Tron going forward.
Yeah, cool. That's great. And do you think? Yeah, I think that I think that's good. I think that's a good a kind of good mindset going forward. I think that kind of awareness of like what it takes to kind of switch gears like that is fantastic, and I think that's a good way to approach it. I think that there are when I take a look at the greater DAO space that's out there, it's like I said, we've seen so many iterations. We've seen them more focused in the DeFi space. We've seen them more focused in the NFT space. I guess those have kind of been the two major versions, and now of course the blockchain space, specifically around a token. So I mean, what about DeFi? We should probably spend a little bit of time talking about that too. Like, I feel like it's kind of like a part of the industry we can't overlook here. It's a huge part of Tron, obviously. It's a huge part of the overall token or the overall blockchain economy. And one of the mindsets that I've had here for the past few months that I've been talking about is this kind of shift of DeFi, kind of going from more or less a direct to retail type of solution to now more of like a institutional type solution. We're seeing a lot more very large companies coming in to participate in DeFi. We're seeing quants and people from the traditional finance space coming in and trying to apply more traditional strategies here to arguably huge success. Where do you guys see DeFi going on Tron? What do you guys think that future will look like? I mean, this has obviously been a major part of the organization for a while.
Yeah, I think DeFi is tremendously exciting, and it's a very important part of Tron. It's something we're really focused on. One of the areas that we're really focused on going forward. And I think you're exactly right in terms of what we've seen in the market. It is shifting from more of a kind of almost, I don't know if one-off is the right word, but it's very moving from very niche-centric to very much and by niche-centric, I mean very small, focused companies doing one specific thing to now it's being adopted more institutionally, right? So, yeah, not to get too far off on the side, but what we saw really, that's how fintech really began, is taking apart one specific aspect of financial services and being able to do it much better than these larger companies, right? And then since then, we've seen kind of more of that happen. And now, as technologies have evolved, as companies have evolved, and as these larger companies have started to lose business to some of these startups, we're seeing them really try to adopt the new technologies. And I think it's going to continue in that direction and probably accelerate over time, or at least over the next few years, I should say. You know, the technologies, particularly blockchain, is becoming more robust in terms of processing speed, in terms of finality, being able to really serve the needs of the institutional model. And as the technologies increase their capabilities, we're going to see more and more adoption to where, you know, it's not, you know, I think we ultimately will get to the point where it's not that these traditional financial institutions are adopting emerging technologies. It becomes that's just the way they operate, and it's all blockchain driven.
Yeah, I
That's my view.
I think you're right. When you look at the blockchain space, it's kind of, you know, it's gone through its paces. It's been through all kinds of different successes and challenges along the way. But one of the things that I see happening now is, you know, last year we saw top 100 companies participating in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. We've seen major financial institutions building it into their portfolios. We've seen IPOs of companies that are crypto-centric coming out. And that's what we saw last year. And so clearly there has been a focus on bringing money into this space. And I think that the big result of that we're seeing now is kind of a brain drain on like Silicon Valley to some extent. There's a ton of developers that are moving into the crypto space, into the Web3 space. A lot of people are coming in. I just saw an article about this last night, I think. Just about how many people are coming in here to work from a development standpoint. And when you look at that from the technology sector and the financial sector both coming in, we're just in a situation where this kind of technology is very prone for adoption. So I think you know, the focus on DeFi is great. Obviously, bridge solutions are becoming more and more interesting. There have been some challenges in the last few weeks with some unnamed companies, but beyond that, it's been fantastic. So I think that's something else that we should just touch on briefly here. If you have any insight as a bridge, how do you guys see your DAO interacting with other chains? You know, as a blockchain DAO, that's a big piece of this.
Just one comment back on DeFi. You don't see anyone leave crypto to go into banking, right?
No,
that doesn't happen. So, and now, you know, I believe Fidelity Investments, a major mutual fund powerhouse, offers some crypto funds. And you're going to see, you know, just in the same way every Wall Street bank has an equities desk and a bond desk and those types of things, they're going to have crypto desks. And many of them probably already do. And it's going to become more and more commonplace, much more accepted. And that's going to happen very rapidly. But moving on to the bridges and cross chains. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, our vision is that it's going to be a multi-chain world, and I think it's going to, in this multi-chain world, one of the keys is to be able to transact and interact and engage with any blockchain at any time, particularly as we get into the metaverse and, you know, GameFi and NFTs. You know, it's interesting because, you know, think about it. Let's say you have Verizon for your cell phone, and, you know, you want to call someone, but they're on Sprint. If Sprint's still around, I'm not even sure. I think they are. But let's say, you know, that's not something that's out of the question. It just happens, right? I don't know how it happens, but you know, something connects and everything works. And I think that's the way blockchains are moving, right? It shouldn't matter over time if you're on Ethereum or Tron or something else. If you want to engage with someone or some, you know, if you want to do something on a different blockchain that's not yours, there shouldn't be any hindrance or, you know, barriers to making you do that. I think earlier, I don't know if you remember the start of email, but I believe, and this might be wrong, but I believe like AOL people could only email to other AOL people, and you know, it was very specific. But now you email wherever. You don't even know what people use for the most part, unless it's evident within their, you know, address. Eventually, I think blockchains will achieve that same thing, and here's why I don't think it's going to consolidate into only a few large players. I think that because, you know, user experience is going to be a key of getting people to build and develop on a particular blockchain. But because everything is, you know, in the Web3 world, the user owns the content. There's very little, I don't want to say incentive, but there's well, I guess I will say that there's not a great deal of incentive or the same incentives as in the past to consolidate and turn the market into this oligopoly, like you see in big tech now.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of pieces there, but I'll stop there.
No, I think you're right. You know, just to kind of expand on that, you know, this is not something that I've ever talked about before, but from my perspective, you know, blockchain technology is not efficient. You know, like if you want efficiency, you want a centralized network that can correctly distribute its information. Now, unfortunately, you may not have the same redundancy and backup and things like that. That's what a blockchain offers. It offers that kind of true decentralization. That decentralization gives you that backup, that security, that like, hey, if 50% of the network goes down, you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna lose information, funds, and whatnot. And that does inherently make blockchain less efficient from that perspective. And I think to your point, just operating a less efficient system like that necessitates there being multiple systems, because how is one blockchain going to replace AWS and all of these things? It's just too much. It's just far too much to do so without being more efficient, let alone more redundant and less efficient. So I think that you're right. It makes a space for more solutions, and we're going to see. Obviously, there's some sharding blockchains that are out there that are doing some super cool stuff. We're seeing ZK proofs or zero knowledge proofs and things like that coming out, and those being very interesting solutions.
Yeah.
Tron has its space, ETH has its space, and I think there's a ton of room there to kind of innovate and build solutions that fit the need, not necessarily this generalized computing solution. So I think that's cool. I 100% agree with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't think the blockchain, the kind of the layer one space, is really an environment where for one company to win or one group to win, the other group has to lose, or another group has to lose. I think there is room for multiple providers, probably a much larger
Yeah.
group of providers than we've seen in as other industries have evolved in the past. So yeah, I definitely agree. And I think what I think Web3 is so exciting. Well, just to stay on the cross chain for a minute, we have the BitTorrent cross chain, which is really, I think, going to start to be adopted. We're going to start using it more, and including that in many of our projects, because it is, we think, one of the biggest things is communicating cross chain. That's key. One of the keys to blockchain proliferation across business, and I think you need that to see greater institutional adoption of the technology.
Yeah, I think you're right. We should talk about that briefly. This would be good info to have. Is like, what's going on with BitTorrent chain and that kind of interaction with Tron. Like, what is kind of the like news on, like, this is a big shift for Tron to shift more into a DAO function. How does this change these relationships and things like that? What can we expect?
The relationships with who?
Like BitTorrent and things like that.
Yeah, BitTorrent is still operating. We've developed the BitTorrent cross-chain solution, and that's really becoming a very relevant, serious part of the Tron ecosystem. And we're thankful for it. So that's super.
Cool.
Then, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, it's been out for some time, and I think that's great to hear that it's going to continue to evolve. So I guess kind of the other thing that I wanted to put out there is, I think that we've kind of been circling this concept of a DAO here. I think it's clear why a DAO is so important to an ecosystem. But I guess, we've seen Tron successful for the past number of years under its pre-existing state of operation.
Sure.
How does a DAO make Tron more successful or more effective in completing its vision?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I guess I'll answer this by kind of asking you the same thing, not to throw it off,
It's fine.
Dodge the question, but what have you found in operating your company as a DAO or your organization as a DAO that has made your group more successful?
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. So I think a DAO, what a DAO does is a DAO challenges you to kind of to continuously innovate, and a true DAO works off of pure innovation from my perspective. So a true DAO from my perspective allows doesn't actually require very much. It basically just says, hey, here's a smart contract. It basically is the DAO of the network. It contains all of the permissions of the network, and it operates as a DAO. And from there, it basically gives the keys to the kingdom to everyone else that's out there. And what it does is it says, hey, we as a DAO-based organization are going to continue to innovate. We're going to deploy new smart contracts that we think are the best solution, and we're going to advocate for them. We're not going to say, hey, here's a solution, and we're going to roll it out, and it's done, and you're all going to like it, and it's going to be good. We have to convince people and explain why, and they can come back and challenge and say, actually, we're not going to approve that smart contract to be the new DAO contract, or we're not going to accept those rules because we disagree collectively. And what that does is it puts us as an organization in competition with more innovative developers. It says, hey, we're the experts on what we do, but there are a lot of smart people out there, and we expect to be challenged on those things because we think that's going to lead to the best solutions. So operating as a true DAO means we may deploy, hey, this is the new bridge. These are the mint terms of the token across chain and whatnot. We're going to deploy it here pending approval by the DAO. And the DAO could, and someone anonymously could come out and say, actually, I've taken that contract, I've had it audited, and I found these issues, and I've gone ahead and I've upgraded those solutions. So here's mine. And in a truly open source environment, our contract should not be approved. And that developers should, because that would be better for the ecosystem. And I feel like that gives more confidence. It allows more people to come in and participate. And what it does is it basically shows this thing is going to grow in the direction of most likely success, not in the direction that I think is the most likely of success, but is the true direction of most likely success. Which
that's real. First of all, that's a great answer. I really like that, and I'll probably steal parts of it.
You got it
going forward. Thanks, dude. But that's really interesting when you think of it. So if you apply that, so what you're saying is that we're not
I've never been
gonna
asked
see,
that.
or yeah. It's funny. I've been asked it a couple times, and your answer was, I think, really good.
Oh,
I
cool.
like it.
Thank
I like
you.
the focus on innovation. But what it could mean, the way you described it, is that we're not going to see necessarily companies as we have in the past that are really led by these kind of icons like Steve Jobs, right? Where it won't just be his ideas driving forward a company. It will be, and maybe I don't know how Apple was run back then, but maybe it's more of a collective vision of those within the company and those within the organization that can really guide its development and guide the products and services that are offered, right? So is that, that could be one possible implication of, the evolution of DAOs versus, what's been seen in the past.
Yeah, we had, when I first launched the organization, we came up with this concept, and we had a lot of jerks in the chat saying, I don't believe you on this. I challenge you on this. That's not going to happen. This is whatever. This is bad. And what, I think a lot of companies meet a force with a force, which is one way of addressing it. The way we addressed it is we hired those jerks, and I have two of those jerks here in the chat with us now. Sorry.
Hey, I got that impression earlier on.
No, but it's true, because that's where the best ideas came from. Like they come in and they said, "Hey, I see holes here," and sometimes the answers that I gave were, "You're right. That's a hole, and we need to fix it. Obviously you found the hole. Can you help us fix it?" And that's how we've operated as an organization. And I see that kind of operating in a centralized way, as we did in the past, is simply converting to a decentralized way. And when somebody comes out, we see these, hacks and issues happen all the time. And it'd be so nice if these contracts were out there and approved, so that you could have a developer come in and go, "Hey guys, I think this is an issue, and I think this is a solution." And it'd be great to see that kind of pushback and feedback, because the people that want a solution to work more than anyone else is not the blockchain, is not the DAO itself. It's the people that are participants within that DAO. They have the most incentive for success. So I feel like listening to the community and encouraging feedback and participation is a win.
Yeah, really, and what a DAO does, just based off that is it really takes the concept of open innovation and kind of, I don't want to say institutionalize it, but it formalizes it and pulls it into one direction, right? It kind of harnesses the power of open innovation and allows the company to take the best ideas from wherever they might be. And I keep saying company, and I don't mean to. It allows the organization to take these ideas from wherever they might come from and act on them, right?
Yep.
So it's really, and really, I've never thought about it like that before. So this has been helpful, but that's essentially is what it's doing to a large extent.
Yeah. So I think this has been an awesome chat. I have one last question before we sign off.
Sure.
And Steve just reminded me of. So why don't you just help us know there's a lot of future left in this space, where the space is brand new. This has never been done before, and it's got a long way to go. So for that future, what does Tron have planned?
Oh my, yeah, that's a great question. And I'm just thinking where to start and how long you want me to talk. Or how long you'll let me talk, I should say. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we are hiring rapidly and across all levels of the organization, from interns to senior leaderships. Like I mentioned, I was one of those hires that just joined the company 6 weeks ago. So it's been very exciting for me. But yeah, we are really focused on not only developing cross-chain solutions, but we're very focused on DeFi, the metaverse, NFTs, and gaming. We're going to have 6 new games come out this year. We're doing some really exciting things in the NFT space that you're going to see over the rest of February, and certainly coming up throughout the year. We have more exciting things in that. And then in the DeFi space, I think really we want to really I think we have all the pieces within DeFi that have been created within the ecosystem. Now we have to take those pieces, kind of organize them in the most effective way and get them to market, because we really are a great place for developers to come with their ideas, to make those ideas a reality. We have great support. We have really just everything anyone could need to make their DeFi idea, get that into the public. And we have the ecosystem and everything. And it's just about getting all those pieces together and providing them to the people that need them most. So one thing I think that we're going to be very focused on going forward is really improving that user experience for people choosing to develop on Tron, choosing to use Tron. And that's going to be one thing I think that is you're going to see a lot of going forward.
Cool.
So I can stop there. But yeah, very exciting. I think we have a really great outlook ahead of us.
Awesome. Super exciting, man. This was a great chat. I really appreciate you taking the time. This was super fruitful conversation. I learned a lot. I love exploring these concepts.
Thanks. I learned a lot too. Thank you for your comments.
Cool.
I really like talking about DAOs with you and learning more about them.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate the time again, and I look forward to seeing you guys' success and continuing to work together in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.